to share with you all some tips for picking up your little ones off, when they're laying on the ground or picking up toys, all that. So one of the first things to begin with is to think about how to lightly activate your core. Because if we're going to, pick something off the ground, a really common thing to do is we want to bend like this, right? And we want to minimize that rounding of the spine because it's really hard to activate our deep core when we're rounding forward all the time, and it can put a lot of pressure on your back. So the first thing is lightly connecting pelvic floor, lower belly. So we visualize we're growing tall from the base of our pelvic floor all the way through. So we've got good posture. So even as we're going to lower down to the ground, we want to think about this energy coming up all the way through our torso so that we're strong, we're connected, and we're supported before we even lower down. Because no matter what we're picking up, whether we're picking up a baby or as your kiddos grow and you've got to pick up a toddler and they start to get a lot heavier, right? We want to make sure we're connected. Okay, so core is active, and we also want to really start to think about mid-back too. So especially to start picking up kids who are a little bit bigger. So I'm going to use my little, pretend baby doll here because I don't have any little kids in my house anymore. So we're connecting up through the top of our head, right? Nice and tall and connected. And something that can be really helpful is to do a little bit of a staggered stance, almost like you're going to go into somewhat of a squat / lunge, but it's somewhere in the middle. And this is where you can play around with this and see what really feels best for you. Okay, so with a little bit of a staggered stance here, we're zipping up through our core, and remember, we've got energy going up through to the sky as we go to lower down. Then when we get here, we are going to have to round a little bit, especially if we have a baby that's on the ground versus a toddler. We're going to be more here, right? So if we're really needing to go down like this, what we have to think about is we're hinging from our hips versus this happening. So notice the difference if I'm down here and I'm collapsing versus I'm down here and I'm lifting. I've got my hamstrings on, my booty's on, my quads are really, I'm feeling my muscles work, just holding me here. So then when I go pick up a baby, I'm thinking about leading from the underside of my legs, my low belly is connected and my mid back is connected, and then you go pick up a baby, little one, and pull them up against you, right? This is where sometimes we have this habit of how we get up and down from the ground without even thinking about it. So this is where we've got to break it down and go slow and really start to bring awareness, that mind muscle connection of oh, how are we moving? And you may want to play around. Maybe you find you want to lead with the other leg. And here's the other thing too with that is switch it up, because so many times we tend to be dominant on one side more than the other. So it might be more comfortable for you to say, hey, have your left leg forward, but you start to notice, oh, I do that all the time, right? So start to switch it up and see what you can do with the other leg. So we think of this as a zigzag. So it's back of the legs, underneath the booty, low belly, mid back. So can you kind of see that zigzag? It's mid back to here to there. Okay. What tends to happen is we tend to do the opposite. We tend to over tighten the hip flexor, use our low back, and really be tight in the chest. So again, these are just things to be aware of, that when you start to practice this more and more, because we're up and down all the time with little ones, picking up toys and whatever else it may be. And so in the beginning, just do what your body can do. After a while, it's going to fatigue because you're working, new muscles, different muscles you may have never done before. So thanks for tuning in today, ladies. If you have any questions, just reach out.